Okay. Okay. Good morning. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name's Larry Clay, and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Dylan Reed and Peter Reed, and our Deputy Secretary Treasurer is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, while others will participate.
Sorry, I'm going to have to stop you right now. They can't hear us. Can we unmute our room? Okay, let's try a sound check.
Hello? Check.
Check.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Got a little bit of lag in my video too. I'm not sure if that's just my computer.
I don't know why you hear that.
Is his laptop muted?
It's not compromised. I think they can should be
But they're hearing the static.
static,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. Exit again. How's that now?
Is that feedback?
We're getting feedback.
Check.
Testing, testing.
Testing.
Sound check, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
So no, Sabrina, they can hear us.
I think the static has been dealt with, but it's a mix of static and feedback.
We don't have it now.
We had the feedback.
I can hear you from, there's a microphone over there.
Laptop is muted.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is from this laptop. Yeah. Yeah, but this is weird.
This is good. I don't know.
That is weird. See this?
It's your.
You have to mute yourself. Huh? You have to mute yourself. You should only be hearing from
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Sabrina.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Are you lucky as well? Yeah, but you're not. Like,
I'm fine, too. Yeah, it's just,
I'm gonna restart my computer or something is being wonky. I'm really laggy. My video.
should add some coffee this morning.
The computer should have had some coffee. If we're not ready to get started, no. Okay.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Can't see why.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
This is a test for WebEx 122. CR2, can you hear us on WebEx?
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
You ask if they can hear the static, please.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yes,
Sound check.
yes.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you just send a text if you can hear that static noise.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Now you can talk.
Okay, I don't think I have to talk, but this is going to pick up the background noises,
Yeah.
like the hospital noises too, right?
Probably. And the other one is to turn on your camera.
That's the camera turn on. Okay. Oh, I see.
And this is yourself? Yeah.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do I start my video?
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Just a test. Hey, hey, hey. Test 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All good. Yeah. Yep. We just needed a reboot. For the love of God.
So it's going to hold. This isn't going to...
Test your microphones.
Testing, testing.
Testing. Good.
Okay.
All right. For all those here and who have been listening patiently on WebEx, we apologize for the inconvenience. We had some pretty significant technical difficulties this morning, but we've now resolved those. So we will commence this morning's proceedings. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name's Larry Clay, and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Peter Reed and Dylan Reed. Our Deputy Secretary Treasurer today is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. When your item is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must first fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or, in some limited circumstances, to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the committee. Appeal instructions are set out in the bottom of the decision. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the applicant or agent may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, the applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation to the committee on an application. Then individuals either in support or oppose the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call on the speakers in the hearing room first and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, any minutes from previous meetings?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and panel members. Yes, the minutes from the March 5th hearing are ready for adoption.
Okay, I'll move adoption. Have a seconder? Mr. Reed. Peter, thank you. All in favor? That's adopted. Panel, any declarations of interest this morning? Staff, none. Seeing none. Any files to be closed today, this morning?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we do have two files that require a motion to close. Both files were before the committee at one time, deferred. The owners do not want to pursue their applications at this time. File number A0744/23TEY, municipal address 1118 Dufferin Street, and file number A0856/22TEY, municipal address 90 Laws Street.
Okay, I will move that we close both those files, seconded by Dylan. All in favor? Those files are closed. And deferral request for this morning, ma'am.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we do have two deferral requests. Item number 5105 SCOLLARD Street, file number A0969/24TEY, as well as item number 17975 Dovercourt Road, file number A0047/25TEY. We can probably deal with both of these deferral requests at this time.
Okay, we will move on to first deferral, item number 5. This is 105 SCOLLARD Street. This is an application to increase the indoor seating capacity from 28 seats to 48 seats, also to maintain the outdoor patio seating capacity of 44 seats. Sabrina, I don't have my materials list. Oh, sorry, I do. It's buried. My apologies. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 7 photographs of the subject property, deferral request from the agent, and a previous decision number affecting the property.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online as well as one speaker registered in opposition, and we'll hear if they are in support or not support of the deferral.
Okay.
At this time, we'll unmute the agent.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. Oh, hello, good morning. Edward Lee, representing the owner. My address is 6 Argyle Street, Toronto.
Great, sir. You're requesting a deferral?
Yes, I made the request prior to the placard notice being sent. I've just found out last minute that I did still need to attend to address any questions about the deferral. The hearing was scheduled so quickly and the letters sent to neighbors so quickly that we didn't have time to engage with planning staff on this application. It's a very unusual one. There's no construction proposed. There was a previous committee decision restricting the hours of operation of this restaurant and the capacity. It's been several years since the previous decision, and I've been talking to planning staff about their appetite to support changes to this area of Yorkville to allow restaurant uses. I think there's even some studies that might be pending for the area.
Okay, so, sir, I'm just going to interrupt you there. So you're seeking
Yes.
a deferral in part to follow up and have further discussions with staff?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Thanks very much. Have we got the speaker?
Yes, we'll unmute Linda Chu.
Good morning, Linda.
Yeah, hi, everyone, can you hear me?
We can. If you have your name and address,
Okay,
please.
thank you very much.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry for interrupting. Your name and address, please, ma'am.
My name is Linda Chu. My address is 75 Hazelton Avenue, just around the corner from 105 SCOLLARD.
Okay, so, ma'am, sorry, ma'am.
ABC.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I apologize for interrupting. But the applicant has requested a deferral today, which means we're not going to be hearing the application. All I'm really seeking from you is whether you support or not the request for a deferral.
I'm fine with the deferral.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Thanks for participating. Okay, let's go take this into committee. Panel.
Chair, I'll move deferral of the application to allow the agent time to communicate with staff.
All right, motion to approve by Peter, seconded by Dylan. All in favor? You have your deferral. Okay. Sabrina, what was the next number?
Through you, Mr. Chair, item number 17.
Item number 17. Which is 975 Dovercourt Road. This is an application to convert the existing two-story mixed-use building into a residential building, a fourplex, by constructing a rear two-story addition with a ground floor deck and stairs and second and third-story balconies. Also to construct a complete third-story addition, in addition to construct a two-story ancillary building to contain one garden suite. There will be a total of 5 residential dwelling buildings on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan and survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, a deferral request from the agent, and a previous decision number affecting the subject property, a staff report from Urban Forestry, and correspondence and concern from 977 Dovercourt, and a 34 signature petition in opposition from owners occupants of Dovercourt Road and Westmoreland Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online as well as 4 registered speakers, which will only be speaking towards the deferral request. At this time, we'll unmute the agent.
Good morning.
Good morning, Craig Race, architect on the application, 100 Lombard Street.
Good morning, Mr. Race. You're seeking a deferral.
Yes, sir, in order to correct minor variances on the public notice.
Okay, so that's pretty much an automatic deferral. Stand by. We will first speak with those who are waiting to share comments on this application.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll unmute the owner at 977 Dovercourt Road.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and address, please, ma'am.
My name is Connie on behalf of Jose Maria Souza, 977 Dovercourt.
Okay, ma'am. As you heard, the applicant is requesting a deferral. We're not going to be discussing this application this morning. I just need to know whether you support or not the request for a deferral.
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll unmute the owner at 973 Dovercourt Road.
Good morning.
Nobody.
Good morning. Kathy?
Through the chair, we're trying to locate Kathy from 973 Dovercourt.
Oh, there's Theo as well from the same address?
I need Theo because they're from the same.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Theo Bavelis, 973 Dovercourt Road.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the applicant has requested a deferral because the variances are inaccurate. It's almost an automatic, but we will ask you whether you support or not the request for a deferral.
I do not support the deferral.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll unmute the owner at 390 Delaware Avenue.
Sorry, the other registered owner is under.
I'm sorry.
Hi there, I'm not sure who's speaking. This is Michael Minialoff, the registered owner of 390 Delaware Avenue.
Good morning, sir. You've heard the applicant.
Good morning.
Sorry, sir. The applicant has requested a deferral because the variances are inaccurate, which is pretty much an automatic deferral, but we will ask you whether you support or not the request for a deferral.
With specific requests for the deferral, I neither support nor deny. I don't feel it's my position to make a comment on something what seems like technical and procedural. So I'll just not vote.
Thank you, sir. So for those who have called in and others who are watching on this application, If this gets deferred, it will be brought back at a later date before this committee. So if you have concerns, or if you continue to have concerns, you will have another opportunity to share those with the panel. All right, so we'll take this into committee. It's the variances are inaccurate. We pretty much automatic.
I move deferral to update the variances. And can I also suggest that this might be an opportunity for the applicant to talk to the neighbors?
Indeed. Seconded by Peter. All in favor? That application is deferred.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can now proceed with item number 1.
Thank you. Item number 1, 750 Richmond Street West. This is an application to permit a home occupation for music instruction and training use for piano lessons located on the ground level of the existing 2-story townhouse dwelling. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, full photographs of the trees on the subject property, a cover letter from the agent, a response to the opposition submitted by the applicants. We have staff report from community planning. We have correspondence and support from 728, 705, 744, 750 Richmond Street West. Form letters and support from several properties on Richmond Street West. We have a withdrawal of form letter in support from 752 Richmond Street West. And there's correspondence in opposition from 772 Richmond Street West and 752 Richmond Street West.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent owner here in person. We also have a couple of registered speakers.
Great. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, members of the committee. First, I'd like to express my gratitude.
Sorry, ma'am, I'm just going to ask you for your name and address, please.
So my name is Susan. This is Andre Ordine and Susan Kwa. We are the owners of 750 Richmond Street West.
Okay, ma'am. So you have 5 minutes, but I'm sure you're going to address it. But a lot of the opposition was with respect to noise, so I'm sure you're going to address those concerns in your comments.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So first, I'd like to express my gratitude to the Committee of Adjustments for taking the time to review my minor variance application and for considering my request to allow piano lessons to be taught in my home, and to the city staff, Jordan and Josh, for helping us put this together, as well as the City Planning Committee for their support. I also want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all my wonderful neighbors who have shown their support for my application. Your presence and encouragement means a great deal to me. I understand that there is a lot of documentation to review as part of this application, especially since several of my neighbors have submitted letters of support. Additionally, I've had to address concerns raised by 2 individuals who do not reside in our neighborhood, including a landlord who was convicted of operating illegal Airbnb units, and another landlord who owns a home at the end of the street. The complaints raised by the Airbnb owner, Allie Weinstein, are completely unfounded and appear to be retaliatory in nature, stemming from my reporting of her illegal Airbnb operations for which she was convicted. We've included all the evidence of this in our supporting documentation and the emails, as well as all her Airbnb listings over the years. Piano lessons have been a blessing in my life. In my hometown, I had the privilege of learning from 3 wonderful teachers who taught from their home. Now, as a mother of 3 young children, I'm excited to share this gift with my own children, as well with others in the community who wish to enrich their lives with music. I've lived in the neighborhood for 8 years, and during that time, I've always strived to be a kind and respectful neighbor. In fact, many of my neighbors welcomed the piano lessons in our neighborhood. My teaching schedule is very limited and takes place mostly during early evening hours, in compliance with local noise bylaw rules. No classes will be conducted outdoors, and windows will be closed at all times when lessons are conducted. I ensure my lessons do not create any disturbances for my neighbors, and I schedule my online classes later in the evening to avoid any impact. I have soundproofing measures in the room where I teach, and it is located in part of the house that is separated from the Airbnb property, which is at 752 Richmond Street West. by 2 walls and a room, ensuring minimal noise travel. We have support from both our neighboring houses, 752 and 748 Richmond Street. This includes a tenant from 752 who initially expressed support, but later retracted her letter after being coerced by her landlord, Ali Weinstein. We have evidence of this and confirmation that she has no issues with piano lessons. All this evidence has actually been submitted to Jordan as well last week. As for concerns about parking and traffic, the majority of my students either walk, bike, or use public transit to attend their lessons, so this has not been an issue. In conclusion, offering piano lessons at home is not just a personal passion. It's a community asset that aligns with the city's vision for supporting artistic and cultural endeavors. I kindly ask you to support or take into account the full facts, the positive impact this will have on the community, and the strong support from my neighbors, and the enrichment and convenience it brings to my student lives as you make your decision. Thank you.
Panel, any questions? Peter or Dylan?
I just wanted to confirm, we had a letter from Mark Goldgrub, but it didn't have an address on it.
Yes.
I wanted to confirm, I believe that that's your neighbor on the east side?
Yes, that's correct. He is the neighbor that we share the teaching wall with.
And what's his address?
His address is 748 Richmond Street.
Thank you.
Okay, I know we're going to hear from some others, but I just want you to elaborate a little bit on, you said you've introduced sound dampening or attenuation measures. Can you just share with the panel what those are?
Yeah, so we have carpets on the floor to kind of absorb the sound there. We've also put a lot of blankets all around the piano and like pillows and sort of things. And then we also have, the windows are also closed, as well as the doors to the rooms are closed all the time when I'm teaching. And then there's also sound panels on the walls.
There are sound panels.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there's double bricks. There's 2 walls, did you say? Did I hear you say?
There are 2 walls between, and another room between my property and 752. And then between 748 and mine, it's, can you, maybe he can comment on that.
So you can see the floor plan on the screen right now. And to the left is 752 Richmond, to the right is 748 Richmond. So between 752 and the teaching area, which is around on the right, there is 2 walls and the space, which is the lobby space.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I'd like to add, we also put headphones on the keyboard.
Yeah, I wondered that.
Yes,
electronic?
Yeah, electronic.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. All right.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll now hear from those that are here in person that wish to speak to this item. Please come up to the podium.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ali Weinstein. I'm the owner of 752 Richmond Street West. I share a wall with 750 Richmond Street
All right,
West.
you have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I'd like to start off by saying that in the beginning, when I first moved there 3 years ago, the piano started at 7 a.m., lasted all day, every day. Upon speaking to my neighbors, we adjusted the time that it started to 11 a.m. so that I wouldn't hear it. It is a very thin wall. It's a 100-year-old house. I hear them arguing. I hear the kids running up and down the stairs. There's not just one piano, there's 8 pianos. This has affected my life drastically, where I've wanted to move out of my own home because of the piano constantly playing. It's one thing when the teacher's playing, it's a whole other thing when the kids are playing. Not only that, but the parents line up outside of my outside of my home. They're loitering outside of my home. They're standing, they're waiting for their kids. There's at least like 10 to 15 parents just standing in a line that goes around my house. And I don't feel comfortable sitting outside in my own home. And on top of that, we live directly behind Queen Street West. And there's tons of struggling landlords with tons of leases that are available for units to be rented to run a business, which this is a complete business that's operating in a townhouse. We share a wall. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but the zoning bylaw says that it has to be a single dwelling with no walls shared. So I just don't understand how this could possibly be allowed, because it affects me, like, greatly. Like, I can't even explain how much this noise disturbance has affected my everyday life. It's also not what I signed up for. Like, I worked so hard to buy this really expensive house, and I didn't sign up to live next to a business. And it's not just in the front of the house. They started operating from the back of the house, the alleyway. The parents would block the alleyway with their cars. They would also block some of the parking spots in the front when they come to pick up the kids. It's not all just walking traffic, even though the walking traffic's honestly almost more annoying because they're standing outside of my house, just waiting and staring at me. But mainly it's the music, and I don't understand exactly how there's two walls blocking in between mine because I hear it so much. I believe it's a hallway, if anything. But like I said, there are 8 pianos, at least that's what I can see online. And I can't live like this. And that's why I've come here all the way today, because I can't continue living with a piano school running in my house, because we're attached. It's a 100-year-old townhouse. And I realized that they have so many letters from support from the community. And originally, my new tenant was signed a letter of support, because my understanding is they printed out a letter of support. They went around to every single neighbor asking them to sign this piece of paper to support it. There's 3 levels in my unit, and maybe the top unit isn't affected, but the main unit is, like, on the main floor is completely affected. The basement is also completely affected. Never mind, like, the wall is so thin that when they try to AirPlay something on their TV, it connects to my TV. Like, that's how thin it is. And it's a nuisance. And I had one other point that I can't really remember, but essentially, if it's going to add to the community, then do it in a proper business setting. Rent something for lease that's a stone throw away from our house. There are so many places for lease on Queen Street West, and we have a back alley to Queen Street West. So we are right there. So just rent a place, a business, to run your business, and it stays in the community. And as much as there could be 100 letters of support, I'm the only one sharing a wall. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Panel, any questions? Thank you very much, ma'am. Oh, sorry, Dylan?
Sorry, so can you just confirm you live in this?
I've recently moved out because I can't stand it anymore. I live at my grandma's right now, but I plan on moving back as soon as this is taken care of.
There's also an apartment in this unit?
I have three floors that are each different apartments.
Okay, and you live on the ground floor?
The ground floor.
Okay, and then the other 2 are rented?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll now hear from the owner at 525 Richmond Street West, Norman DiPasquale.
Good morning. Norman, you have been...
Good morning. Yes, I'm sorry, just trying to get my camera and everything enabled. Hopefully you can see and hear me now.
Oh, yes, there you are. Yep. Your name and address, please, sir.
Yes, of course. So my name is Norman DiPasquale, and I'm not an owner at 525 Richmond Street West, but a tenant. I used to be a tenant of 741 Richmond Street West, which is roughly across the street from the unit that we're talking about here.
Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. So yeah, as mentioned, I used to be for 2 years from January 2019 to March 2021. I lived roughly across the street from 750 Richmond Street West. And, and after that, I moved to 525 Richmond Street West. And I just wanted to share my experiences over, roughly 2.5 years living as like a next door neighbor to 750 Richmond Street West. As well, I was a former local school board trustee of the area, and I recognize how valuable it is for our children to have access to music education that we don't necessarily get in our schools. So, as mentioned, I lived across the street, and, to address noise, my daughter actually has attended the piano class. And, when I went for pickup, or for drop off, first of all, there were classes running, but I couldn't even hear the piano because I was walking towards the door. The noise, it's truly non-existent. I have been, nearby while the class is happening. You don't hear piano, you hear nothing from the outside. And, the pickup and drop off, I'm mainly seeing people walking. I never experienced a situation where I couldn't get my car out of 741 Richmond Street West, or never sort of saw some sort of, multi-cars sort of picking up and dropping off. And, when I would go back for pickup again, I wouldn't hear a piano at all. Like you wouldn't even really be aware that there's a piano class taking place in that house, because you literally hear nothing from the outside. This was an opportunity for my daughter, who took piano classes there, to connect with other children in the neighborhood, with similar interests. And, through this program, she has gained friends and confidence in her musical abilities, which I think every single child should have, putting that lens of being a former school board trustee back on. I really didn't hear anything. And that's the thing, I suppose because it's a piano, you just don't hear it from the outside. Like there's really nothing. I didn't really at pickup time there, parents will come with a car and then the child will run and jump into the car and off they go. It's not like it's, sitting in a lay-by or something at a school. It's been very seamless, and I've never noticed any sort of a disturbance when I lived on the street for, 2.5 years. I think the majority of people, my daughter would encounter many of her friends from school there, and families would tend to walk to pick up and drop off. So I never noticed any sort of a parking situation or a traffic jam situation taking place at that residence. In terms of neighborhood impact, it is very much a net positive for the neighborhood. We don't really have, other than at 750 Richmond Street West, I don't know of another sort of piano class taking place that handles, all sort of levels of ability and ages. We used to have the Toronto Institute for Enjoyment of Music, but that sadly closed during the pandemic and has not returned. So, we don't really have a lot of options for local learning for students and children in the neighborhood. So I think it's a great fit. Just as a resident of the area for 2.5 years and as a user of the piano school, I never noticed a single issue, really never waiting in any sort of queue. Everything just works smoothly and seamlessly. And I'm fully in support of this application. I'm happy to take any questions anybody might have.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Dylan?
Yeah, so just to clarify a few things.
Sure.
Are the piano lessons individual, or are they in a group of several students at a time?
Yes, it's a good question. I mean, I would tend to drop my daughter off and she would participate in the class. She would participate with other classmates her age, so it's quite possible that there's some sort of group teaching taking place. But I can also see challenges with that because every student is at a bit of a different level. So and they come in at whatever level they're at. So I can imagine there's going to be some individual focus.
So I was just wondering if there's more than one student at a time. That was what I was wondering. It sounds like there is sometimes more than one student at a time.
It's possible. I've never actually gone in to watch over a class, so maybe a better question addressed at the people running the piano school.
Okay, and from your experience, is there ever this time when there's a lot of parents waiting around for an extended period of time outside the school?
Not at all. I mean, I went to many pickups and I never saw that. There was no queue. Students run out and parents pick them up and off they go. I've never ever seen a queue. I've been a school board trustee. I know what a queue looks like. There was never ever a queue when I went to pick up my daughter, and she participated in the piano classes for over a year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, I think you answered the question I was going to ask, and it was whether you've actually attended inside the classroom, but you mentioned you had not gone inside, so you're not aware of what the sound is like inside.
I've been inside once or twice to drop off my daughter during piano class, and really, you're in a house where a piano is playing. It's not like we're not talking amplified instruments. We're just talking about a piano being played, at a regular piano level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other speakers?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we did have one other speaker from 744 Richmond Street. We've made multiple attempts and have not been able to reach them, so we will ask the owners to come back to the podium.
Okay. Okay, welcome back. You've heard a few concerns from your next door neighbor, mostly about noise and congregation outside of your home. So I wonder if you could address those and anything else you'd like to address.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Is your mic on there, sir? Is it?
I think the mic is on. Can you hear me good? Yes? Yes or no?
I can hear you, but I'm not sure you're amplified.
I can speak in here, and then we'll just share the mic.
There's a little red button on the front. Is it on?
It's on.
Okay, good. You're good to go then, sir.
Okay. So Ali mentioned that she's the only person whose house connects to ours. So this is not true. The resident of 748, the other house that connects to the house.
I'm not going to, I'd rather not get into a he said, she said kind of thing. I think what I'd like you to do is just address the concerns.
So in terms of the noise, she mentioned that the playing happens at 7. That is definitely not true. Nobody wakes up at 7 o'clock. There's barely any playing in the morning because the children are gone from school. As well, I don't practice in the morning. I practice in the afternoon, and no classes are ever taught in the daytime. So that is not true. And then the parents congregating, again, as you heard from Norm, that is definitely not true as well. There is a fence around her property, so there's nobody trespassing. Our house is within 5 meters of the sidewalk and the bike lane, so everything is of public use to be on the sidewalk. And then...
Yeah, and I also want to mention, again, the parking issue. There is very, very small minority of people who drive. The majority of people live in a neighborhood. They either walk or bike using the bike lane, and they come and they go right away.
Yes, and also there is a Green Pea parking lot located within 2-minute walk from the property for anybody to use. As well, a couple side comments is just that the property at 752 has been an Airbnb for the last 7 years. The previous owner used it as an Airbnb. The new owner moved in using it as an Airbnb. When she moved out, she only lived there for 6 months or less than a year. It was listed on Airbnb, and we have all of that evidence showing on there, as well as the listings are still up. So it's been a commercial property, basically. We've lived beside it. There's been news articles on it about some of the activities that happen at that Airbnb that everybody on the street knows about that. So a lot of the comments that she has given us or she has said today are completely false. It's basically retaliatory.
I have a couple questions. I'll get to you, Dylan, in a sec. You mentioned that your students wear headphones when they play. the person in opposition indicated that there are 8 pianos.
No, there's definitely not 8 pianos. It is impossible to teach piano if there's 8 pianos.
Right.
You cannot hear things.
How many pianos
Okay?
do you have?
So I have one small acoustic piano used for teaching, and I have 3 keyboards. The 3 keyboards are on headphones. Everybody is on headphones because I cannot hear when I teach. People unplug and then I hear. And sometimes students, it really varies in the class. Not everybody comes every time. So it goes from 2 to 4 students.
Okay.
So, and some of them are doing music theory and like things on the iPad because I run a hybrid of kind of classes. They're not playing the whole time. They work on analyzing music. They do some music theory games. It's a mix of things.
Okay, thank you. Dylan?
So to clarify, you have maximum of 4 students at a time?
A maximum of 4 students, yeah.
And you have one piano and 3 electronic keyboards?
Yes, but the piano is not always used just because it's a louder instrument, and also like I don't put beginners on the piano.
Right.
So usually the students are
when you're teaching using the electronic keyboards, does the sound ever like in the air, or is it always through headphones?
It's most through headphones, but I will plug because it has 2 adapters, so I can plug my headphone into it so I can hear them.
Yeah.
But sometimes I will remove it just to listen to them if we play a duet together, or if we play something together.
Okay, thank you.
But the keyboards, speakers are very, they're not powerful.
Right.
They're like
What are the hours that you actually teach?
I teach mostly between 5 to 9, but it just varies because some days I start later, some students don't come, sometimes I end earlier, sometimes I have to take my kids to certain things, so it really varies. It's not like those are my teaching hours because I have small children of my own that I also need to take care of.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Peter?
Thanks, Chair. I just want to make sure that you're aware of the planning department conditions and you're okay with those?
Yes, I'm totally okay with those.
Thanks.
I just want to go one last thing. I'm quite familiar with row houses in downtown Toronto, and none of them have insulation in between them. And you mentioned you have some form of sound attenuation on the walls?
Yes.
And what does that consist of?
We put blankets, carpets, sound panel, just to absorb the sound.
Would you be okay if we ask it maybe as a condition that you have some sort of sound panels on the walls when your classes are underway?
Yes, yeah, that's totally okay, yeah.
Sabrina, is that doable or not? I mean, we've done sound attenuation before.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can put in sound attenuation as a condition. We would just have to come up with the right terminology around that.
Yeah, it sounds
would
like
be
on
our
the main floor and the
standard.
basement, I think
Yeah.
is basically it. There isn't an issue on the upper floor. So again, that's just for consideration.
And through you, panel members, I think you also know that you can, if you were to approve this, you can also approve it on a term of 1 year, 2 years, up to 5 years. So it's not there permanently. Given the fact that it sounds like this has been in operation for a couple of years without city approval.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anything further, ma'am?
Just to close, this house is our home. This is a commercial operation. This is on a very part-time and limited basis, and it's a great asset for the community.
Yep. Okay, thank you. All right, let's take this into committee. Who wants to start us off? Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a somewhat complicated situation. And certainly I've gone back and forth on this. But I think that the letter of support from the neighbor who's directly shares the wall with the music room is significant. I feel like if there was a significant sound issue, then the neighbor at 748, who is directly beside, would also be concerned. And I think that that's really quite significant that that neighbor does not have a problem and suggests that really these, the sound is not as significant, perhaps, as is being said. So I would tend to support this. I like your idea of including a requirement for sound attenuation. I think that the city planning one is good for other neighbors, but I think it's really important that significant sound attenuation be made for the direct neighbors. And I do take their point that there are two walls in a hallway between them and the 752, which should make that should attenuate the sound reasonably well.
Peter?
Yeah, I agree with Dylan. I don't have much else to add. I would say I think a lot of this comes from the fact that this is old housing, right? That all sounds go through these walls, and I mean I think the real solution would be for both adjacent neighbors to soundproof that shared wall. I mean, but that's further down the line. But I think something definitely worth considering. But to me, it seems like this use, which is the variance before us, is not that different than, say, someone playing a stereo loudly, right, and that sound transferring, or people arguing or whatever, which I think other bylaws can address. So I do see the benefit of having this type of use within neighborhoods. I think that's positive. I think that's a downtown kind of situation that adds to the life of the neighborhood, and I think that's a positive, so I'll support it.
Okay. Sabrina had mentioned the option of a time limitation. What do you guys think about that?
I support this, like, just as is. I don't feel the necessity to put on a time limitation, personally.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with these row houses. There is no insulation in between. The walls are paper thin. Yeah. So if we could put a condition that has some sort of panels or attenuation, I think that would go a long way to minimize, whether it's the current owner or future owners, particularly if we're not going to put a time limitation on it.
Yeah.
All right, who wants to move a motion? Your turn? Okay, we'll start with you.
Sure, I spoke first. So I'll move a motion to approve this variance with the planning conditions that were included, and also with the condition that, how's the best way of phrasing this?
I think we had noise attenuation measures or soundproofing measures on the first floor and basement levels, because I think that's where the pianos are.
Are the pianos in the basement? I think it's just the first floor.
Sorry, we'll go to committee. Can I just confirm, where are the pianos?
They're on the first floor, yeah.
They're not in the basement?
Yeah, we took them out, yeah.
Okay, the first floor then.
Yeah, so with the condition that there be sound attenuation?
Yeah, sound attenuation materials on the first floor in between this house and I guess 752.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's
okay. Motion by Mr. Reed to approve with those conditions, seconded by the other Mr. Reed. All in favor? That's, you have your approval with those conditions, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we move on to item number 2. Item number 2 is 510 to 528 Yonge Street and 7 Breadalbane Street. This is an application to alter the development standards for a new 59-story mixed-use building by permitting a private student residence use on this lot. There'll be a total of 587 residential dwelling units in this building. Committee has before it a copy plan, a survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, planning rationale from the agent, shadow study, presentation materials from the agent, and site-specific zoning bylaws affecting this property. Good morning, sirs.
Good morning. My name is Alex Avenue. I'm a senior associate and planner with Bousfields, 3 Church Street, at 200, Toronto.
Great, sir. You've submitted some presentation materials, so why don't you take a moment and walk us through those?
Correct. Can we pull up those? I believe they're called, yeah, this is it. Perfect. So like I said, I'm Alex Avenue. I'm a planner, agent for the application, 510 to 528 Yonge and 7 Breadalbane. we submitted a planning rationale letter that goes into detail about how these two variances meet the four tests. So I'll keep this a bit more high level. The one thing I want to say is that we have worked with planning staff prior to even making the application. We understand that they have no issues with the variances, nor have they submitted a staff report. If we go to the next slide, please. So you see the site right there in red. It's at the southwest corner of Yonge and Breadalbane, south of Wellesley in the downtown. You can go to the next slide, please. So just a little bit about the approval background. So there was an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application that was approved in 2022 on the site and was actually finalized last year in 2024. That permitted a 59-story tower on the site. The left hand of the screen is the official plan amendment, which, among other things, permits shadowing on Dr. Lillian McGregor Park, which is to the northwest of the site, for some times of the day outside of what the OP permits. So that was the purpose of the official plan, and that's relevant for the variances, which I'll get into in a second. On the right side of the screen, you have diagram 3 from the bylaw that permits the built form and the 59-story building, the building envelope, among other matters. You can go to the next slide, please. So this is an important piece for this application. So this is OPA 183, which is the North Downtown Yonge Site and Area Specific Policy, which it's a site and area specific policy that covers those lands in the black outline. You can see the subject site is within that. And this is important because at the time of the approval, this policy was under appeal and was not in effect. And now today, the appeal is now finished, and this OPA 183 is in full force in effect. And the important thing here is that policy 536, and I'll paraphrase what it permits, is that a tower on a site that fronts along Yonge is permitted to be set back from the Yonge lot line 10 meters or less. And that's important because the moves that we're proposing through this minor variance application comply with this updated policy that, again, is now in effect. We go to the next slide, please. Just site photos. The left is along Yonge Street. The right is looking south along Breadalbane. You know, the next slide, please. So the variances, again, two variances. One is to revise the building envelope, and the second is to add a private student residence as a permitted use, and I'll briefly get into those. The next slide, please. So this is variance 1. So this is a site plan. So the area in green is where the building envelope is expanding to the east. So it's expanding 3 meters to the east. The entirety of that tower that's expanding to the east is set back a minimum of 10 meters from the Yonge Street lot line, again, in accordance with this evolving policy framework. And you can see on the left side, it's slightly expanding 0.5 meters to the west, which is St. Luke Lane. This minor expansion of the tower floor plate will not result in any other shadowing on the park, which was a part of that official plan amendment that was approved on the site. We can go to the next slide, please. So this is the diagram 3. So you can see here, this is the change essentially. The left is the existing and approved building envelope diagram that's within the bylaw, and the right is what we're proposing. You can see those two vertical lines beside the probably 186.4 are being removed. So there was a portion of the tower before that was built to 10 meters to the east lot line. It went up about 19 stories, stepped back 1.5 meters, went up to 39 stories, stepped back another 1.5, and essentially what we're doing is we're removing those two step backs, so the entirety of that east face is set back 10 meters from the lot line. Okay, so 40 seconds left. Just in terms of, we go to the next slide. So variance 2, a student residence is permitted on the site. What we're proposing to do is to permit a private student residence, which is essentially the exact same thing. The only difference is that it can be operated by a third party under agreement with the post-secondary institution. So in this case, The owners are looking to partner up with a local post-secondary institution to utilize the site for private student residence. This definition has been used in the past. There's other bylaws in the downtown that have used this definition. We've worked with planning staff. Everyone agrees this definition is appropriate. Again, no objection letters, no comments from staff. Thank you.
Okay. Dylan?
Will the restraining it to student residence increase the number of people living in the building significantly?
The number of people, it would likely be around the same. If again, like, part of this is down the line, we may proceed with a private student residence, which will have to be accommodated through a site plan application, and those details would be hatched out at that time. But likely, because it's still the same floor area, I don't think there would be that much of a difference, if anything, nominal.
Just a technical thing. The purpose application in the thing does not mention this step back changes.
Sorry, repeat that, please.
The purpose of application in the public notice, it only mentions the student residence aspect. It does not mention the change in the step backs.
Oh, I guess it would be covered, I assume, under the alter the development standards of the approved bylaw.
Right.
So the development, I understand what you're saying.
It says by permitting a private student residence use on this law. It doesn't say. So I'm wondering if we can alter the purpose just to incorporate the step back changes.
It's for you, Mr. Chair. Sure, we can do that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Thank you very much. Let's take this into committee. Peter?
Sure. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Dylan, for that clarification. I think that helps the purpose. I think these two variances are minor. I think the added shadow is minimal, I think, and the impact of that massing of those setbacks are almost non-consequential. And the private student residence, a public one, is permitted. So I really don't see how this could have a negative impact in terms of impact. And I thank the agent for going through the OPA. That was helpful background too. So I move approval of this application without condition.
But as revised.
Sorry, yes, as revised for the purpose.
Okay, motion to approve the amended application by Mr. Reid, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Billy, I'm probably screwing you up over there. Item number 3. Uh, 1084 Queen Street West. This is an application to legalize and maintain the rear enclosure of an outdoor patio, which was constructed without an authorized building permit. Also to permit an outdoor patio use on this subject lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property, and order to comply for the subject property. We have a staff report from community planning, correspondence and concern from 1086 Queen Street West, and correspondence in opposition from Mr. John, no address provided.
For you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay.
Good morning, Edward Lee, representing the owner. Address is 6 Argyle Street.
Okay, sir, there is an order to comply on this property, so maybe
Yes.
a quick presentation or an overview of what you're proposing?
Yes. So this subject patio was before committee 3.5 years ago, I believe. It was approved on a conditional 3-year term because of one of the neighbors in the back behind the laneway expressing concerns. At that hearing, it was brought up that the establishment at the corner of Dovercourt and Queen is quite loud, and I think they've given all the other restaurants in that block a bad name because of noise complaints. But I, of course, reassured them that the owners at this address, the restaurant owners here, would not be running same type of establishment. And so the committee approved the minor variance for the use of the patio on a 3-year term. 3 years went by fast. It was just after the pandemic. The owners decided to build a structure to enclose the patio to try to gain some additional revenue during the post-pandemic lockdowns when all the restaurants were trying desperately to do anything they could to have a ventilated, covered space that they could still have patrons. And then the renewal for the patio came quickly, and the owners lost track of the fact that it had passed and that they needed to come before committee again to this time hopefully get the patio approved permanently. And the reminder about having to come to committee was triggered by an inspector coming by in response to a neighbor's complaint, probably the next door neighbors, complaining about roof runoff from the roof of this enclosure. Had nothing to do with the patio use itself, but because an inspector came, I believe it was then that they realized that the patio license had expired and that they were required to go to committee again. So we took the opportunity to obviously come before you to request the patio to be approved permanently, and at the same time to acknowledge that there is a structure that will require an as after the fact building permit application should the patio use be approved. And to address the neighbors' concerns, the issues that they brought up in their letter are all technical in nature, and that these are all things that I'll have to address during the building permit application for the structure. But the patio use itself, the minor variance for the patio use, conditions from city planning staff on the fencing, and obviously the standard noise restrictions, all apply this time, and we of course accept those conditions. So really, it's funny that the notice was drafted to highlight the order to comply on the structure, but the main reason we're before committee is to have the patio use approved permanently after expiry of the previous 3-year term condition.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions, Dylan? Oh, sorry. No questions? All right. Thank you very much, sir. Let's take this in committee, fairly straightforward. Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, city planning has noted there have been no noise complaints. I think that the neighbors' concerns about drainage are clearly significant, and but as the applicant said, that'll be addressed through the building permit and such. So that's not really what's in front of us at the moment. I actually think it's a good thing they built a structure because that'll actually reduce the noise impact on neighbors. So I think it seems that they, admittedly they have had some administrative issues, but at the point of view that it seems that the patio has been successful, it has not created a noise problem. And the structure that they've built actually probably helps mitigate that noise. So I move that we approve these variances with the city planning conditions.
All right. Motion by Dylan to approve with the planning conditions, seconded by Peter. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. All right. Item number 4. Uh, 156 Front Street West. This is an application to alter the development standards for a 54-story office building by enclosing the existing ground floor outdoor patio for a new ground floor eating establishment. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property, outdoor patio renderings from the agent, a restaurant lease from the agent, and a site-specific zoning bylaw affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from Heritage Planning and staff report from Metrolinx and Community Planning.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent here in person. No registered speakers for this item.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Robert Bader, B-A-D-E-R. My address is 38 Albany Street in Etobicoke.
Sir, just hang on a second. I know you came down, you've got a presentation here, but this seems very straightforward to us.
I do not have a presentation, and I'm here at the indulgence
Oh, perfect.
of the members.
Panel, does anyone need a presentation? No. No. Anyone have any questions? No. Sir, we've read the application. It's fairly straightforward. Looks quite minor. Positive thing for the site. We don't need anything else today. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we take it into committee for a decision?
We are supportive of the conditions that planning staff have recommended, and we look forward to the approval.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do you have a question? Or let's take it into committee. Dylan?
So I think the key thing with this one, I think, is that it really be a patio that is enclosed as opposed to a permanent structure, and I think that the planning conditions, the conditions proposed by planning ensure that. So given those planning conditions, I think this is very acceptable.
Great. More patios are good.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, as long as it stays primarily a
100%.
patio, just maybe, covered over for the winter.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes, a motion.
Okay, motion by
So
Dylan.
motion to approve these with the planning conditions.
Okay, by Dylan, seconded by Peter. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you for coming down. Item 5 was deferred. We move on to item number 6, which is 16 Woodbail Crescent. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear ground floor patio, a rear first floor balcony with stairs, and a rear second floor balcony. Also to reconstruct the existing rear basement level deck. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan received March the 12th. Red line public notice received March the 13th. A red line zoning notice also received March the 13th. We have 11 photographs of the subject property, trees on the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, an arborist report, and a TRCA permit number. There is staff reports from the TRCA, from RNFP, and from community planning.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. It's Enzo Lacasano. I'm from Arch TWG at 1242 Caledonia Road in Toronto.
Okay, and so we don't have anyone speaking on this item, but could you just take us through to make sure we have clear understanding of what the public notice changes are? Could you take us through those changes?
So we had discussions with planning. We submitted revised drawings. And so variance 1, the setback of the deck, instead of 3.17 from the rear yard, will now be 4.22. Will be further set back because we reduced the deck from 35.28 square meters to 18 square meters.
Okay.
The setback from the side lot line will remain at 1.59.
Okay. And
So we came up. Sorry?
Variance 2 is changed as well?
Yes, the area of the second floor. Again, this technically it is the second floor, but it's actually the ground floor of this house because of the sloped land. The main floor level is actually the garage and basement, and the second floor is actually the main floor. And that was the argument we used with planning, and they agreed. We came to a resolution that the second floor rear balcony would be reduced to 18 square meters.
Okay. All right. Thank you, panel. Any questions on this one? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. I'm just wondering if there are any concerns from your clients or the neighbors about potential overlook in terms of screening on the side?
Not really. Nothing came up with discussions from neighbors. The neighboring properties have very similar deck situations. And there is no, most of them are just picket railings. There is no screening and overlook, because the main use of this deck is really to get from the ground floor to the lower deck, which is the more usable deck, to entertain and to enjoy the outdoors. The second floor deck was purely a transfer from the kitchen area, which is what's accessible from that second floor deck.
All right, thanks.
Are you talking, Peter, about the upper level?
Yeah, I'm talking about either one. I mean, I think this house is, I think the property to the north is not a concern, I don't think, because there's a setback there. But yeah, I was talking about either one of them, the ground floor or the higher one.
Okay. All right, anything else? Okay. Thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee.
Okay.
Peter?
Thanks, Chair. I mean, I never want to put a screening condition in if it's not required, and so I think that I'm happy leaving that out. And I respect that the applicant has revised their plans based on community planning input, so that's good. I do think these variances are minor, and TRCA is okay, so I think that's obviously a positive. So I'll move approval of the application as amended. That's with the 2 amendments and subject to community planning condition.
Okay, motion by Peter to approve with the planning conditions, seconded by Dylan. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Item number 7, 896 Broadview Ave. This is an application to permit the conversion of the existing semi-detached dwelling into a detached dwelling, resulting from the demolition of the adjacent semi-detached dwelling and the construction of a new 6-story apartment building, municipally known as 898 Broadview Avenue. Previously approved under minor variance A0249/24 TUI. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property, and presentation materials from the agent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning. Sorry, are you able to hear me?
I am, yes.
Sorry, I was there in person before, but had to run to a meeting. Sorry, so good morning, committee and Mr. Chair. My name is Jacqueline Lee, and I'm with Batory Planning and Management. We're here on behalf of our client and the neighbor, the owner of 896 Broadview Avenue. This application is to, oh, sorry.
So, no, I think we've heard, some of us were on, I was on this one before. I think all 3 of us were on this one before.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're familiar with this application. It looks like you're proceeding with the approval that you previously received, but now there's a technical issue with respect to the attached semi-dwelling. Is that correct?
That's correct. So it's an administrative kind of application more than anything, I guess.
I recall that one of the things that came up was whether, in fact, your client was able to either purchase the adjacent semi and do something more comprehensive or not. I take it that was unsuccessful?
They did not purchase the attached semi, so the 896 Broadview Avenue, which is the subject site for the application today.
Okay. So this is simply separating the 2. Have you had discussions with the adjacent semi about this? They're aware this is happening?
Yes, if you look at our presentation on page 4, there's the letters that we had translated to Vietnamese as well, just for better communication, to let them know that about the application at 898, and then also to let them know that it would basically facilitate their semi-detached dwelling into a legal non-conforming detached dwelling.
Okay, so you've sent them a letter. Has your client had any discussions with that neighbor?
I do believe they have. I don't have, the client isn't with me right now. I could go back to check with them, but they have already started like demolition and are about to start the construction. I do believe that they have been in contact with the neighbor in addition to the letter having been sent as part of the initial application.
Okay. All right, I don't know if we need a presentation panel, but does anyone have any questions? Peter?
Yeah, this is more just out of interest, but is your client paying for this application?
Yes, so that was just kind of done in good faith, I guess. Because the condition before was to just let them know that this would be required, and then our client has kind of moved forward to submit the application on their behalf, and so yeah.
Okay, good to hear. Thanks.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're just going to assume that based on your assurance that your client has had those discussions, the adjacent semi is fully aware of this application and the impact on their home. So unless you have anything further, I think we'll take it into committee.
Nope, that's everything.
Okay. All right, we're in committee. Dylan?
I was on the one where they had to defer because they discovered this problem. So I'm actually very glad to see that they have gone ahead with, I mean, it was a good proposal, so I'm glad to see that it's been able to go ahead, and I'm glad to see that they are going ahead with assisting or, helping the neighboring property go through this.
It would have been good for them to actually buy it and not do something more complicated.
I assumed that the neighbors were not interested.
No, clearly not.
Yes, that would have been preferable for everyone, I think, but, it's good that they have gone ahead with, assisting the neighbors with resolving this particular situation, so.
Okay, is that a motion?
It can be, yes, a motion to approve.
I'll second that, Chair.
Okay, motion by Dylan to approve, second by Peter, all in favor. You have your approval, thank you. Item number 8 is 29 Lippincott Street. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear three-story addition, rear decks on the first and third stories, a rear second-story balcony, and a rear basement walkout. The existing rear one-story portion of the dwelling will be demolished. There will be a total of 3 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, tree inventory plan, with 11 photographs of trees on the subject property, presentation materials from the agent, and there's correspondence in opposition from 31 Lippincott.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, and the one registered person is here in person speaking in opposition.
Okay, great. Good morning.
Morning. Taylor, I'm designer and agent for 29 Lippincott. I'll try to keep it brief so that there'll be time for clarification if anyone needs it. So we mainly wanted to preserve the street frontage and the Victorian style facade of the building and step back any additions that we had made to keep the human scale of the street. We submitted some materials that show that there's a lot of precedence in the neighborhood for some of the variances that we are asking for. And we feel like it's in the spirit of the housing initiatives and the gentle density, growing the gentle density in the area. Our main goal was hopefully to add some more 2-bedroom units in the area, ideally for small families. And because there's a lot of family living and access to public transportation, schools, hospitals, grocery stores, things of that nature. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Panel, anything burning until we hear the other speaker? Okay, thank you. Just want to sit down and maybe first start by giving us your name and address, and then we can push your red button there in front of you.
My name's Katrina Vergis-Mayo. I'm from Loopshire Nixon. The address is 130 Adelaide Street and unit 2800.
And you're representing?
I'm representing the property owner at 31 Lippincott, Mr. Robinson.
Okay.
I was just hoping to project something here as
No, if we haven't received it already, then we,
It's materials that the applicant had provided, so I did not provide.
if it's in the package, yes,
It's in
we
the
can
package.
call it
It's
up.
a superseded plans.
Hang on a sec.
And then is it?
We'll just reset the clock.
Yeah. It was submitted by the applicant.
When?
It's part of their application package.
Oh, so, yeah. Plans?
Just the plans.
So you want the plans called up?
Yes, please.
Is there a particular plan that you want us to call up, like site
Page
plan?
21, please. Page 21.
And you submitted presentation materials as well, right?
I did not submit the presentation materials. I'm going to only be speaking. The plans were part of the applicant's application.
All right.
That was the page, just the one before. That one there.
Is that what you want?
Yes, it is.
All right, off you go then.
Okay, great. So the applicant is seeking 5 variances to the City of Toronto zoning bylaw. As you are aware, it's to convert a small single-family dwelling to a massive 3-unit dwelling. It is so massive that it will essentially, the building's new footprint will essentially take up 3/4 of the lot, which is demonstrated by the set of plans that have been provided by the applicant. The previous single-family dwelling covered maybe 1/3 of the lot. So it's a quite drastic and massive change to the current use of the site. So just turning to the drawing that we have up here. The drawing shows how large the proposed building would be, and also demonstrates that the beginning portion of the building, which you can see on the right side of the page, is simply going to be used for the entranceway. That's the retaining portion of the current single-family dwelling. This is undoubtedly an inefficient use of the lands, and it leads to its overdevelopment. This is evidenced by the fact that the applicant has requested variances to the rear yard to allow for an additional 2 meters to construct the multiplex. A more efficient use of the lands would be to replace the entirety of the existing buildings and revise the proposed development to include a compact and efficient entryway at the front. This would vastly reduce the building's footprint on the lot, meaning that the building would not sit so deep and therefore no rear yard variances would be required. This is a clear case of where an applicant is attempting to use a minor variance in order to overfill space. This extends far beyond what the intended purpose of the official plan amendment 649 was. It was OPA 649's intention to have units built up rather than out. As stated by the city, the intention was to think inside the box. More units, same scale. It was never the city's intention for multiplexes to take up almost the entirety of the site. This is clearly evidenced by the fact that there were no zoning bylaw amendments to reduce rear and side yard setbacks to permit this type of development. If I can now direct the committee's attention to page 11 of the plans, is it possible just to move it? I think it's one more. No, can you keep going back a little bit more? A little bit more? A little bit more? A couple more, maybe? It might have been right at the beginning. Okay, it's okay. So there's a page 11 of the plans basically outlines the location of our clients' lands in comparison to the proposed development. Our clients' lands are situated to the north of the development. Then to the north of our client's land is an alleyway, and to the north of that is a fence. So our clients' lands are sandwiched between this development and an alleyway. That alleyway is used by 29 Lippincott to access their rear yard parking as well. If approved, the proposed development will essentially tunnel in our client's property between the back alley to the north and the fence, and now a blank wall to the south. This presents a number of concerns which are not minor. First, the new three stories building will be required to have a blank wall. This is a condition to be imposed in the construction of this building due to fire code requirements. The 3-story blank wall will be massive and egregious. It will block almost all natural light into our client's backyard, essentially making them feel as though they're in a downtown alley every day. Second, the blank wall, in combination with the laneway and the fence of the neighboring property, will create a cannon effect for all noise in our client's rear yard, as the noise will ricochet off the blank wall to the other fence, creating drastic acoustical impacts to our client's property. Our client is sympathetic of the need of the city to provide more housing, but approving this proposal is excessive. As mentioned, the proposed development could be more strategically placed so not to require the rear yard setback, which would in turn create a development that is a modest intensification of the site. If the building were shifted forward in the front yard, it would still meet the front yard setback requirements and would rectify the many negative consequences which will be caused by the rear yard setbacks and this development on the neighboring property owners. Yet the applicant has chosen to retain the existing home. The purpose of OPA 649 was to permit the modest intensification and development of multiplexes by amending the zoning bylaw to eliminate floor space index restrictions. The proposed addition is not modest in the slightest bit. The minor variances are therefore not minor in nature, not desirable for the appropriate development or use of the site, and does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan or zoning bylaw. Simply put, the variances do not meet the 4-part test set out in the Planning Act. Based on the foregoing reasons and others, we respectfully request that the minor variance application be denied at this time and referred back to city staff for consideration of the appropriateness of the variance requested. This would also provide our client with an opportunity to meet with the applicant and city to address their concerns prior to its approval. That's my deputation.
Thank you, ma'am. So is it your client's contention that a better proposal would be to move the house forward?
Yes, that's
rather than extend it in the rear and change the massing in the front as well, or?
Just to move it up a little bit in the front, it would sit with the current residential units that are there. One of the units in the neighboring property is a little bit further up, and the other unit is also a little bit further up, so it would bring it closer to the front of the property. It would but still be within the front yard setback, and it would have less of an impact at the back.
There is a tree in the front yard.
I don't believe it would impact the tree, even if they brought it up the so we did I did it at my firm. I did a little drawing, which is what I can't do it here, obviously. But even if you were to bring up the property a slightest bit and remove the existing home, that portion that they're using for the staircase, if you were to remove that and make it more compact, which you see in plenty of developments, they don't need to have such a big space for a staircase, they would be able to move essentially the entire development up, and it would reduce the 2 meters setback requirement that they've requested at the back, plus cut off additional space. So it would allow for the backyard to stay. So it's just an inefficient use of, I understand that they're retaining the current building, which is why it's resulting in this, but that is what's causing this inefficient use and overdevelopment of the site.
Panel, any questions? No, thanks. No. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
If we could get the agent back, please.
Hi.
Hi.
Speaking.
So you've heard some concerns and a suggestion from the next door neighbor. Did you want to take some time and respond to that?
Yeah, we of course studied bringing the massing forward, but we are trying to again preserve the frontage of the street, and there is those heritage bylaws that are going to be passed that are in Kensington Market that are basically saying the same thing. So we're in line with that. The existing staircase and a lot of that frontal interior is being preserved as well. So we really can't move forward without demolishing that Victorian style facade. And we would like to keep it. So to have more units, 2 bedrooms for small families, our option was to push back. But I feel like there are a lot of precedences in this neighborhood for this kind of thing. I would also note that there were a few zoning requirements that have been removed from multiplex housing, but we are still in keeping with those previous zoning requirements that were removed for maximum heights, and as well as falling below the FSI of previously approved minor variance applications in the area, 29 Lippincott, for example. Yeah, we feel like if you want to keep that character, but also have that gentle density increased, we would unfortunately have to grow it out.
Sorry, so did you say that this was subject to a heritage designation?
Yeah, there's a heritage designation that's going to be passed on April 1st in Kensington, requiring the preservation of the frontages of all the housing in Kensington, I believe. So yeah, we have that in mind as well when designing this.
Okay, Dylan?
Just thinking, like the examples you gave in your presentation are all along the lines of what the neighbor was talking about. They're sort of move more front, which kind of, in a sense, suggests what they were talking about. Do you have examples of a similar depth and lot coverage in the area that would be comparable to what you're proposing?
I mean, yeah, so some of the examples are showing approvals of buildings, some as far back as 2014, that have no side lot setbacks.
I think we understand, like, this is a narrow lot, you're not going to have side lot setbacks. I think the neighbors are particularly concerned about is the depth. And the lot coverage. Those are the objections that they're bringing forward. So I'm wondering if you have examples nearby of similar depth and lot coverage.
Yeah, 44 Lippincott set a precedent, 2014. They have a lot depth of 19.58 meters. 120 Nassau in Kensington has a lot depth of 20.89 meters. The townhouse 6870 Lippincott Street, it's a big townhouse development. It's 23 meters in depth. So we don't think that we were asking for something crazy or any of that hyperbole that we just heard. We feel like we're in that spirit of gentle density while maintaining the heritage.
Those are lots that are similar overall depth?
Yes, yeah, they are.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Peter?
Not from me, thanks.
Okay. All right. Let's take this into committee. Some thoughts?
It's a bit challenging. I take the neighbor's point. That's a big blank wall. And I take the neighbor's point too, that you could just build forward. I mean, at first when I saw it, I appreciated the fact that they were maintaining the original frontage. But the question is really whether, that is worth the, the impact at the rear. So I'm actually a little torn on this one. I don't have a strong opinion. Curious what my colleagues.
Peter?
Yeah, I agree. I do think that the better option would be a rebuild closer to the existing street line, right, of the frontages in the front, and I think that would have a lesser impact to the rear. It does look like there's a lot of variances, but I think most of them are just because of the existing setbacks on the side, and those aren't meaningful. I think the meaningful one is the depth or the length, whichever it is, of almost 2 meters. So I do think that additional 2 meters is a meaningful impact. So what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you. We're seeing many multiplexes with additional length, and in some cases it's all site specific and context related, right? And I think in this case, this is a very constrained lot. It does, the rear kind of is part of the rear backyards of homes on Oxford as well. But it just strikes me that, had there been some good conversation with the surrounding neighborhood, that another alternative might have been something that could have solved some of the concerns. And I don't necessarily love bringing houses closer to the street, but I think there's some room there. The tree, it feels like the tree can be preserved, and the heritage argument, we're presupposing what a future designation might or might not be, and I look at the home, it doesn't necessarily look like a heritage building, but you never know in Kensington. So I agree with both of you. I think that there's a better solution on this property. So anyone want to move motion?
Sure, I will. I would encourage the applicant, though, to come back and with another application, because I think that there is definitely room. Like, they're doing some very positive things. They're adding rental housing into the neighborhood. That's positive, but I think that the impacts of doing that in the form that they've put forward is too bad. So I'll move that we refuse this application.
Okay, motion by Peter to refuse, seconded by Dylan.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, like, I think this is very specific to the fact that this lot is not very deep. So a variance that we might have allowed on a much larger, deeper lot, it just doesn't appropriate here, and there are alternatives to achieving, as my colleague was saying, the same effect, but without the same impact, and I think that that's what we're really looking for.
Okay, all in favor? The application is refused. We move on to item number 9. '52 Bousted Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear partial 3rd-story addition and a rear 2nd-story addition with a rear balcony. Also to construct a new 1-story ancillary building, which is a detached garage in the rear yard abutting the laneway. Committee has before it a copy plan, a survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of subject property. We have email correspondence from Transportation Services.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Good morning.
Hi there. Jordan Winters, architect and agent for Stefan and Alicia, 47 Farningham Crescent.
Okay. Hang on a sec, sir. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one?
No, but I do have a question.
Yeah, we'll go to questions. Sir, we don't need a presentation. We're familiar with your application. We've read all the material. We might have some questions for you, though. Dylan?
Yeah, so variance 1 specifies that the number of lawful parking spaces will be reduced to 1. But in the plans, the garage is a two parking spot garage. So I was just wondering if you could explain that discrepancy.
Correct. The initial zoning notice said that there's 2. What it is, why they're only saying it's 1, is because when we're in a tight condition like this, you need a little bit of extra room to the side for doors, is what the variance is asking for. So if you go, technically, we can fit 2 city parking spots in the garage. However, when you factor in, I think it was 300 centimeter, 0.3 meters of clearance for the doors, then it technically only one fits, is kind of how I read this.
I see. So in practical terms, you're planning to get 2 cars in there, but technically, really, there's only space for, like, according to the technical zoning, there's only space for 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of what the existing garage has, two spots that don't really work. The reason we're reconstructing is it's basically collapsing, and there's a column in the middle anyway. So it's just structurally unsound. So what we're replacing, we're actually reducing the size. This is the existing footprint. If you go to the proposed footprint, you can see we're kind of increasing setback, and we're basically allowing, we're requesting 1 parking space with room for storage, with the potential to kind of store a snow blower, equipment, sporting stuff as well. So that's the variance. We're asking for 1 spot, 1 legal spot compared to 2.
Got it. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Okay. Peter?
Thanks, Chair. For your rear yard soft landscaping, it's a bit low, and I'm wondering if you had considered other ways to improve that value.
Yes, we did. It's actually better than what currently exists. Right now, with the existing garage and the smaller setbacks of the current structure. We're at 25%. We're pulling in a little bit, you know, to 26.7%. It is still quite low, but it is an existing condition. The survey, part of the reason it's so low too is the existing paving stones. The zoning reviewer said there's zero kind of permeability to them, but what they are is kind of large flagstones with 2-inch gaps. So, you know, when you look at it from a lot coverage standpoint, it's quite low. Functionally, we believe it functions better than 26.5 or 26.7%.
All right, understood, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Anyone concerned about the screening of the balcony?
I did notice that privacy screens are included in the
They
site.
are included? Okay. All right. And flagstone, I mean, should allow some water permeability, I would think. All right. Anything else? Okay. Let's take this into committee.
That's you, Dylan.
Whose turn is it?
Are we really alternating? Okay.
We kind of are.
I will gladly, I'll move to approve these variances. I think that the issue of soft landscaping was addressed quite well by the agent. The garage, I don't really have a problem with. If they can squeeze 2 cars in, then they're welcome to do so. I see privacy screens are included in the site plans, and I don't think we need to do a condition for that. I'm sure they'll include them. So I think any concerns we have are being addressed, and otherwise these are pretty straightforward variances. So I move we approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Dylan, seconded by Peter.
But I'll just add to the applicant, thanks for the axonometric drawing. It's very helpful to see what you're proposing.
Okay. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you, sir. Item number 10 is 467 Drury Street. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a complete 3rd-story addition and to enclose a portion of the existing covered front porch into habitable space. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of subject property, 6 photographs of comparable properties, covering letter from the the applicant, pardon me, and a 3-signature petition in support from 464, 465, and 469 Drury Street.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Do you hear me?
We can, but there's an echo. I wonder if you could turn off one of your devices, if you have 2 on.
Just 1 second. Hello?
Hi.
Is it better right now?
Yes, that is better. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Hanna Delarzak, 8 Ravenscrest Drive, Etobicoke, and I'm the agent for the owners of that property.
Great. Hang on a sec, ma'am. Panel, this is a fairly straightforward one through only 3 minor variances. Anyone need a presentation? No. Ma'am, we've read your application. We're familiar with the material. We don't need a presentation from you today. Before we take it into committee for a decision, is there anything you'd like to share with the panel?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We're in committee.
Chair, I'm happy to make a motion on this. I think that this is a solid application. The fact that it stays within the existing footprint of the house, it gets its density that way, really limits the impact. And the variances that are requested to get this additional GFA, they are, I think, truly minor in my opinion, so I'll move approval without condition.
Great. Motion by Peter to approve, seconded by Dylan. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Anyone need a break? You guys good? Can we take 5 minutes? 5-minute break?
Now we're
we're cruising.
I thought you'd at least put up a little bit of resistance. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No doubt. Happily? Good to go, Jordan? Okay, we resume with item number 11, 169. Good. 169 Gledhill Avenue. This is an application to I've got the right one, right? Yes. Alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by reconstructing the existing enclosed front enclosure that was constructed without an authorized building permit, and to construct a front second-story addition above the enclosed front porch, and a front porch with stairs and a canopy. Also to permit the rear ground floor deck with stairs that was constructed without an authorized building permit, and the rear deck is obstructing access to the parking space in the rear yard. Committee has before it copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, 7 photographs of comparable front porch additions, a covering letter from the applicants, and email correspondence from Transportation Services or Development Review and Urban Forestry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Tyson Milani. Address is 169 Gledhill Avenue. I'm the owner.
Okay, this looks fairly straightforward, sir, but you did get an order to comply. You've constructed some of this without a building permit. Maybe you could give us a bit of an explanation, please.
Yeah, so actually we purchased the property 14 years ago and the front porch was already enclosed at that time. I've heard from neighbors that it was constructed sometime in the 1990s, as well as the back deck. So at this point, I'm looking to just legalize the enclosure, but we desperately need the space upstairs. So we're looking to add the addition above the front porch. And as you mentioned, there's lots of examples around the neighborhood of both a 1-story enclosed front porch and a 2-story enclosed front porch.
So that's what triggered this order to comply?
Yes, it was a permit application triggering this, to notice that it wasn't on record. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Panel, any questions?
Yeah.
Dylan?
So the one thing that you're asking for is the front porch is being enclosed, but now you're asking to actually build a new front porch in front of the formerly enclosed front porch. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because the existing walls are 2x4s, not enough insulation in our value. And so we want to do it right and rebuild that. And also 2x6 studs are needed to support a second floor. So that is the reason for demolishing the existing walls and rebuilding them.
But at the moment, do you have an additional front porch in front of the enclosed front porch at the moment?
Yes, there's a wood porch in front of the enclosed front porch.
I see. Okay, so it's there and you're rebuilding it essentially.
We would rebuild that one as well, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you. And then you're aware that technically you aren't allowed to park. I think you have a shared driveway. You're not using that for parking at the moment?
Yeah, I was told recently that we had parked previously with the neighbor, but now we understand that we can't park there. So that's understood.
Right. Does the neighbor use it?
And we've never had parking in the back. Sorry?
The neighbor does have parking in the back or no?
No, neither of us do. To my knowledge, they've been there 35 years. They've never had parking in the back.
Got it.
And I just want to make it clear, you physically cannot drive through that right away. There are gas meters which would scrape any car that drives through there. So while it's 2.1 meter clear, the gas meters and furnace exhaust vents reduce it further.
So it's not just technical; it's practically impossible to work.
Practically impossible to drive through there. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Unless it's a motorbike. Yeah.
Got it. Understood. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? Peter? No. Good. All right, sir. Thank you very much. We'll take this into committee.
Thank you.
Dylan, it's your turn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm slightly concerned about porch creep, like enclosing your porch and then building a new porch in front of it. But I think this is basically an existing condition. There's rebuilding something which is perfectly understandable. I certainly sympathize with the desire to build on top of the existing enclosed porch. Everything else seems to be basically formalizing something that's been in place for a long time. So I think this is entirely supportable. There is, I think, a forestry condition number 1 for this one.
There is, yes.
Yeah, so I move that we approve these variances with forestry condition number 1.
Okay, motion by Dylan to approve, subject to forestry, seconded by Peter. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you, sir. Okay. Item number 12, 337 Sackville Street. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear 2-story addition with a rear ground floor deck. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from the agent, an arborist report, email correspondence from Heritage Planning and Urban Forestry, and correspondence and support from 339 and 335 Sackville Street.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online. No registered speakers for this item.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Jay Smith, agent for the application. My address is 2814 Arlington Crescent, Mississauga.
Sir, this is an extremely minor variance, only one variance. I don't think we're going to need a presentation today. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's go into committee. Peter, I think this is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think this is a very reasonable application. The fact that both neighbors support it, I think, says a lot about it. The one variance required is extremely minor, and this is just mimicking a footprint of the neighbor to the south anyway. So I think it's completely supportable. I move approval, subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Okay, motion to approve by Peter, subject to forestry, seconded by Dylan. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Item number 13, 429 Walmer Road. This is an application to alter the development standards for the apartment building by increasing the tower height and number of stories from 19 stories to 21 stories and 69 meters to 83 meters, and by removing the required non-residential gross floor area requirement. The height and number of stories of the podium will be reduced from 8 stories to 6 stories, from 30.8 meters to 28 meters. This building will contain a total of 98 residential dwelling units. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 30 photographs of trees on the subject property, with covering letter from the agent, an arborist report, a shadow study, pedestrian level wind study addendum, presentation materials from the agent, site-specific zoning bylaw affecting the property. We have correspondence and support from South Forest Hill Residents Association and from Heathside Place.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agents here in person, and we also have the support from 449 Walmer online.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Have your names and address, please.
Nathaniel Pace.
Is your button on there, sir?
It is.
Okay.
Nathaniel Pace, 79 Woodcrest Avenue, Toronto.
Okay, ma'am.
And James, 3 Church Street, Suite 200.
Okay, we don't have any opposition. In fact, you've got the RA on side, which is not an insignificant achievement. But maybe just a very quick overview of what you're planning.
Okay. I'd just like to start off by saying, as you've seen, we've done a lot of work over the last year with the community and with our neighbors to ensure they were on side here. To go back on this file, we made our application in 2022 and received our zoning approval towards the end of 2023. As we moved into detailed design in 2024, we realized we had some structural changes which required some additional height, and we're going to trigger a variance in terms of the overall height. Before making that submission, we engaged with the councillor's office, with city planning, with the residents association, and with our neighbors. And through that process, we came up with the kind of proposed application, which increases the tower height and reduces the podium, and ultimately, I think, results in a much better building. So I'll turn it over to Anne from Bastedo to kind of walk you through our presentation, but I guess what's in front of you today is really the culmination of, I think, a year of work with both the community, our neighbors, and with city planning.
Okay.
Perfect. Did you want me to run through the presentation, Mark?
Very quickly. I think we're pretty comfortable with it.
Sure. Okay, great. So good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Anne, and I'm a planner with Bousfields, together with Stephanie Quast, a partner at Bousfields, who's here with me today. We're the agents representing the applicant. So today, we are seeking the committee's approval for 3 variances to a site-specific bylaw to facilitate the construction of a 21-story residential building at 429 Walmer. And as you'll see on the screen illustrated in this aerial, the site is located on the east side of Walmer Road, approximately 80 meters north of St. Clair Avenue West and to the west of Spadina Road. Walmer is primarily residential in nature, with 2 existing 26-story towers to the immediate west of the subject site. And since the 2023 approval, the team has been working through the detailed design process of the new building. And so we're looking to make a few minor refinements that would result in no increase to the gross floor area on the site. And as mentioned, to respond to the desire for larger size units and to respond to feedback received from the community, we're requesting 3 variances, including a decrease in podium height from 8 to 6 stories and an increase in tower height from 19 to 21 stories, revising the setbacks to expand the ground floor and second level building, a portion of those to enclose the vehicular parking and loading area, and then finally the removal of the required minimum non-residential space on the ground floor and its replacement with additional additional indoor amenity space. Slide, please. So the first 2 variances, actually, could you go back for me? Thank you. Perfect. So the first 2 variances relate to the redistribution of height and revisions to the setbacks of the building to better respond to the surrounding context. The reduction of the podium height from 8 stories to 6 stories improves the perception of height for the pedestrian and is compatible with the existing heights of the adjacent buildings. This, together with the increased building setbacks at the ground floor and mezzanine level along the Walmer frontage, will result in a more sensitive integration with the surrounding area, improving the pedestrian experience. The tower height has been increased by 2 stories, resulting in a 21-story building, which is in keeping with the surrounding heights. And then finally, at that rear portion on the northwest corner, a portion of the ground floor and second level has been expanded to entirely screen the vehicular access and loading. And as noted previously, none of these changes will result in any increase to GFA. So you'll see quickly here these 2 renderings with the reduced podium height adjacent to the buildings to the north and to the south, which are 8 stories and 11 stories respectively. And finally, that third variance is with respect to non-residential GFA component of the site. And as mentioned, due to the residential nature of Walmer Road, successfully tenanting the non-residential space has been challenging. And so the revised proposal contemplates the removal of this non-residential space. And in its place, a larger indoor amenity space will be provided, which would continue to support an activated frontage along Walmer Road, thereby contributing to an animated public realm. And this has been received favorably amongst the community members. Slide, please. So this close-up rendering demonstrates the active frontage of the proposal with direct sight lines to the street from the indoor amenity space. Slide, please. So in summary, it is our opinion that the proposed variances meet the 4 tests as they're minor in nature, meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and are a desirable change. The variances will result in the ability to provide larger residential units, all of which are proposed to be 2 and 3 bedrooms in proximity to higher order transit. Additionally, it will not result in any adverse impacts to the surrounding context. And then finally, as mentioned by the chair, over the past few months, the applicant has engaged with the surrounding community, and we have 2 letters of support from the South Forest Hill Residents Association and the president of the board of directors from Heathside Place, which is the building immediately north of the site. So we want to thank you for your consideration. We respectfully request the approval of the application before you. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. I guess the ratepayers just didn't want retail in and around the area, right? Yeah, obviously. All right, any questions? We have no questions. Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll take this into committee.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm
We'll
sorry.
hear
We
from
had
the support.
support. I'm sorry. I completely forgot the support speaker.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I don't know if you can see my camera. Can you see me? No. Start video. It doesn't matter. There we are. Start video. I'm just going to be very brief, Mr. Chairman. To support the application, you have a letter from us as well. I just wanted to emphasize, as you guessed, we were very opposed to the retail part of this building and very much endorse the applicant's request to have that removed. We understood there was some discussion with planning staff about that, so I just want to reinforce for us, we're concerned about the congestion on Walmer, and we felt that retail would just add unnecessary congestion, particularly when there's lots of retail space in the neighborhood. And by the way, I forgot to say my name. I'm Georgina Steinsky, and I'm representing 447-449 Walmer.
Great.
And that's the essence of my presentation. Thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. I think we can take this into committee. Dylan?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think these bylaw ones, you know, they do require a slightly higher level of scrutiny, but I think in this case, it's clear that this is supportable. I mean, first of all, as you mentioned, the support from the local residents and the neighbors, I think, is really significant. They've worked closely with them to come up with a solution. There's no change in GFA, which I think is really significant. It's just a adjustment of space, not a attempt to get more space. Certainly, larger units is great. I also really appreciate that the retail is being converted into additional amenity space for the residents. I think that's a real contribution. So often we see attempts to reduce amenity space, but this to increase it is great. So really, for those reasons, I think this is extremely supportable, well thought out plan, and I move that we approve it.
Okay. Motion by Dylan to approve, seconded by Peter. All in favor? Thank you for coming down. You have your approval. All right. Item number 14, 104 Billings Ave. This is an application to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a front one-story addition, a porch enclosure. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of trees on the subject property. We have staff report from community planning and 9 form letters of support from owners occupants on Billings Avenue and Athletic Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nick Allen. I'm from Replacement Design. My address is 160 The Westway, Unit 16A, Etobicoke, and I'm here today speaking on behalf of the owners.
Thank you very much, sir. Hang on a sec. This is simply a porch enclosure. I don't think, sir, we need a presentation. We've read the application. We're familiar with your material. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we take it into committee for a decision?
I'll just quickly note that I've reviewed the report from community planning. I have no objections with those conditions.
Okay. All right, let's go into committee. Peter?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is very straightforward. I think there are many porch enclosures on this street, and I think the fact that they've included a lot of glazing, there's big windows and a glass door, I think goes to kind of retain the porch function, or the porch look at least. So I have no concerns about permitting this use. I will move approval subject to the planning condition.
Okay, motion by Peter to approve, seconded by Dylan. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 15 is 1174 Ossington Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a third-story addition. The existing one-story detached garage in the rear yard will be maintained and unaltered. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units, one in the primary unit and 1 secondary suite in the basement within the main dwelling. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of trees on the subject property, and a covering letter from the agent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online as well as 1 registered person.
In opposition?
Interest or opposition, yes.
Good morning, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, morning, Mr. Chair, many members. My name is Bruno Lopes from MSL Engineering and Associates, located at 1649 St. Clair Avenue West, and representing the owner.
I think we have someone who wishes to speak on this item, so we'll need a short presentation, sir.
Yes, absolutely, through Mr. Chair. Yeah, we did the homeowner decide to have a secondary unit, so he will need that space, and literally we're transferring that space to the third floor. It's a very straightforward application. I wish I wouldn't be here today, but unfortunately we could not eliminate FSI. If we had a triplex, we wouldn't be here, but because it's a duplex, we are here for one single variance.
And it's FSI only, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, why don't we go to our speaker? Ling, you have been unmuted.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Ling Jin, and I am the representative of the homeowner of 1172 Ossington Street. And he appointed me to be his behalf to present the opposite side, because we are just next door to the 1174 Ossington. Since the building is built in 1919, it's been over 100 years history. And then my client concerned about their foundation and then the roof, and the neighbor is very nice, and then we respect them, and but we just have a lot of concern about this big project. Even they just have any renovation inside the interior, we're okay. But since it's adding another third floor and then also convert to two like a separate unit, it's gonna be a long history, like a long time to finish the project, and it's gonna be reversible impact to our property. So we're sorry to have to make like a opposite side.
Thanks, ma'am. You spoke rather quickly. I just want to confirm what your concerns are. Is it in respect of construction-related activity, or are you concerned about other matters as well?
We respect the owner, but we concerned about like the foundation going to be unbalanced in the future, and also we're concerned about like their impact, like a negative impact to our building. So we're not confident with this project for adding another third floor to like to our next door, because then the roof gonna be demolished, and then also they're gonna to damage our part of the roof, and we don't want to face any like uncertain risks for in the future if any leakage happen due to like the extremely weather. So this is like most of concern that we don't want to support their project.
Okay. So I'll just tell you, so many of the matters you referred to will be addressed through the building permit process, where the applicant would need to demonstrate that they will undertake those works in a manner that won't affect your property. But we will ask him to respond to your concerns.
Yes, and yeah, but because when we received this notice, we never received like any communication from our neighbor about their project. So now we presented to this hearing. Just want to, like, I don't know, they have any like plan they show to us, and how to fix, or in the future if any like uncertain things happen. We don't want to ruin the relationship. So this is why we're here. Yeah.
No, we understand. Thank you. All right, can we get
thank you.
Mr. Lopes back?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I do hear the neighbors or the representative of the neighbor. Actually, at MXL, we are mainly, our core is actually structural. I've dealt with this myself in the past, so you're absolutely correct. This is going to be dealt during a building permit stage. So when we add a third floor addition, we definitely have to do a soil test. We have to get bearing capacity. We have to do investigation about the condition of the existing building. So I wouldn't put my stamp on something that I don't believe to. So definitely the concerns are valid. It's just typical during construction concerns. I think that they are not addressing what we are here today in terms of design approval, but definitely it's going to be a responsibility of the owners and contractors to actually mitigate the construction in terms of dust, noise, and whatsoever. But again, goes beyond the committee today. So just to preserve the building, and of course to have the new construction well done, we'll do our due diligence, and again we'll produce drawings that will show exactly what it is, and based on as-is conditions, we'll address structurally this third floor addition as required.
Okay. Panel, any questions? Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Let's take this into committee. Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty minor, there's only one variance. Definitely on Ossington is a place where I think the city would like some intensification, so this is totally in line with what the city is looking for. The plan is very thoughtful. It kind of maintains the current look, just extends it upwards. And of course, providing a secondary suite is also valuable. So I think this is minor and completely in line with what the city is looking for in this kind of area. I would encourage the applicant to keep the attached neighbors, informed of what's going on and work with them to make sure that they don't have any concerns. Given the attached nature, I think it's important. But I think this is pretty minor and definitely in line with what the city is looking for. So I move we approve it.
Okay, motion by Dylan to approve, seconded by Peter. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you, sir. Item number 16 is 136 Tyrrell Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by enclosing the front porch into habitable space and to construct a new second-story addition above the enclosed front porch with a new bay window. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Total of 8 photographs of the subject property, presentation materials from the agent, 21 form letters in support from several addresses on Tyrell Avenue and Arlington Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Carl from Replacement Design, 160 The Westway, Etobicoke, and I'm the agent representing the owners of 136 Tyrrell Avenue.
Okay, ma'am, I don't think we're going to need a presentation this morning. It's fairly straightforward. We may have some questions, but before we do go into that, is there anything you'd like to share with the panel?
No, thank you, but I'm open to questions.
Okay. Any questions, panel? No, we have no questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. Let's take this into committee.
I'll take this, Chair. I think, again, this is relatively minor. Thanks to the applicant for the photos were helpful. I think given the fact that the second floor above the porch is already enclosed, goes to lessen what they're proposing to do. I think that massing is already there and that kind of visual appearance is there. And then enclosing the first floor, the porch, the first floor porch is, I think the fact that they've left some of that uncovered or unenclosed is a positive thing as well. I think this house and its partner are kind of unusual in this neighborhood, and they stick out farther to begin with. So I think it's a fair application, and I do appreciate the level of outreach that was done in the neighborhood. So I'll move approval of the application without condition.
Okay, motion by Peter to approve this application, no conditions, seconded by Dylan. All in favor? You have your approval, ma'am. Thank you. And item number 17 has been deferred, so that concludes this morning's session. We will resume at 2 o'clock with item number 18.
Wow. Imagine if we didn't have that delay this morning.
Yeah.